in that bill is to amend some sections of the principal law, and when passed, it will make traditional rulers law be into the current realities. Now, some of the questions that were asked was, what is the current reality that this bill, when this law is amended, would address? Those realities perhaps would be given that information sometime in the future, but at the moment it wasn't mentioned what those realities were, but that was what was said. Anyways, we're looking into that. They've also said that they're not trying to take powers away from the governor in any way, shape or form. This is what was said by the 25 lawmakers. They said that they are not stripping the state governor of his powers with the recent plans to amend the laws. A lawmaker who spoke to newsmen on behalf of the other lawmakers after the sitting said that the amendment will ensure that the chairman and members of the Traditional Rulers Council cannot be removed without the 2/3 majority of the House. We're going to get into all of those details, but first let me quickly introduce my guest. He is a legal practitioner and is no other than Chioma Choko. Good morning, Happy New Year to you and your family.
Good morning, my dear brother and friend.
It's our first time this year.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, Happy New Year to you.
Okay, well, so that's my guest, and we'll be discussing this. And how does this impact Rivers people? What benefit does amending that particular law have for Rivers people, especially when we look at the situation in the state and the economy? Some people would say we expect certain more, robust. I don't know if that would be the right word, but there are people of the opinion on social media that shouldn't we be looking at other laws that would better the living standard of Rivers people? Get on Facebook and share your thoughts with us. What you think about the move to amend the Traditional Rulers Law. Is it in the interest of people? If you don't think it is, what do you think about it? On Facebook, it is Nigeria Info 92.3 PH. On X, it is Nigeria Info PH. Join us on either of those platforms and let us know what your thoughts are. In the meantime, I'd like us to listen to what the lawmaker said with regards to the planned amendment of that particular law. And this was what one of the lawmakers, Enijo, had to say.
The House has not taken away the power of the governor to do anything. Strengthening democratic institutions. One of the most important democratic institutions is the traditional rulers, the customary authority. So by doing so, if we've made laws to strengthen local government institutions, we're also making laws to strengthen traditional institutions so that traditional rulers can independently perform their functions without fear or intimidation. We need them to be more active in governance, to be more active in the democratic space.
Now, some people have also said, where was this activeness under the past administration? Because some traditional rulers and Rivers people might share the opinion that it wasn't all very fancy traditional rulers under the past administration. I mean, there were videos where some of them were even publicly in quote words that were inappropriate was used towards them, and some of them might have said those words as insulting or disrespectful to their status as traditional rulers. They were not even allowed to travel, attend meetings. Some of those reports were all over the place under the last administration. But now the assembly has said, well, they feel like they need to be more involved democratically, politically, governance, and all. I'll just take part one of what the law says before we get on to my guests. So the council, according to the law, it's a body corporate with perpetual succession, has common seal, may sue or be sued in its corporate name, and has its office in the capital city of Rivers State. Now, the composition of the council consists of traditional rulers recognized by the governor as first class, second class, or third class traditional rulers. The traditional rulers recognized by the governor are as contained in the first schedule. Now, functions of the council. The council shall advise the governor on a matter relating to 1. Customs and traditions, intercommunal relations, chieftaincy affairs, the maintenance of public order within the state, resolution of chieftaincy dispute, and any other matter as the governor may direct. Now, let's pause there before we get on to appointment and tenure of the chairman of the council. Over to my guest now, Mr. Choko.
Yes.
The first functions that have been listed now, and what the lawmakers are saying are current realities that were not stated. But if you listen to the insert there, that lawmaker was basically saying they need to be more involved in governance. Being more involved in governance, doesn't the functions listed here already answer to that?
For me, if you look at it, although in my own perspective, I had even wanted to take it from the part of view as to whether or not these assembly members even have the rights to legislate.
We're going to come to that because that was also a conversation.
Let me not take you.
That was brought.
Yes, against your question. You see, the truth of the matter is that from what you have actually that they said the primary purpose of making this law is not just or not to strip off or to stifle the powers of the governor as regards the traditional institutions, but to ensure that the chairman, they are specific, that the chairman of the Traditional Ruler Council of Rivers State is not removed without a 2/3 majority of the leaders of assembly.
Why is that particular? Why the interest? If the aim is to get the traditional institution to function,
yes,
why not involve all traditional rulers in the council? Why just the chairman?
That is where I am even having worry, because all of us are aware that just about the concluded last administration, we saw how government, as a matter of fact, balkanized traditional institutions to their own whims and caprices. Nobody talked in Rivers State. The former governor of Rivers State, His Excellency Chief Barrister Wike, balkanized, inclusive of my own local government, where traditional institutions, which ought ordinarily to be respected, was balkanized into different constituents or traditional units. Now, look at the powers that are vested in the traditional ruler as enunciated in that legislation. There is no traditional ruler in Rivers State that can come out openly to say, oh, this power that is vested in us by the same assembly had been exercised by us without any hitches from the state government or the state governor. Why are they now coming to this realization that being as traditional institution, certain powers enunciated in that legislation ought to be exercised expressly? But the problem I have is not even with the enunciation of the objective of that particular functions of the traditional rulers, but they are specific as to these two persons that cannot be removed by the governor. But this is a particular thing that was done by the last administration. And if you look at it, these same assembly members that are coming up with this bill, all of them, inclusive of
well under the past administration.
Well under the past administration.
To my next question, didn't they know under the past administration that this thing needed to be sorted out, because he will hire the right to fire. And here it says clearly that the governor shall appoint the chairman of the council.
Very good.
So did they not see this under the past administration to know that we needed to adjust it?
The truth of the matter is that I've carefully considered the steps and the actions of this House of Assembly members, and I want to tell you, to the best of my knowledge, their actions and steps are not in the best interest of Rivers people. I am speaking today as a taxpayer. I came here with my tax certificate so that it will be evidence to Rivers people what has empowered me to speak to the actions of these state assembly members. Look at the steps, look at the bills that the supposedly House of Assembly members have actually projected within the period of this political crisis. There is no particular legislation or bill that has been passed by the same House of Assembly members whose Rivers taxpayers' money are being used to pay this assembly member. No particular legislation, no particular bill has come up to address the issues or the attendant issues that Rivers people are facing. The only three bills they have actually come up with or resurrected in the assembly have all been for their own personal and selfish interests. Look at the first bill. It was to remove, I think, revenue and physical mobilization, that money that was actually being paid to the deputy governor, to be removed from the deputy governor to the state house of assembly. It is at this material time that they realize that that particular location ought not to go to the executive arm of the government, but should return to them or come to them directly because of selfish reasons. Look at this particular bill now that is coming up, being sponsored by Major Jack. That bill is also to stipulate, to remove, to abrogate certain powers of the governor, but they are not even aware of the fact that the governor is still the appointer of the chairman of the council. So you cannot say that you exercise the power of appointment and then at the same time you not exercise the power of removal. So if you want to remove the power of removal by sending it back to the same House of Assembly, then you must also remove the power of appointment so that the governor will know that he does not have any business.
It brings us to, if the assembly members were not involved in appointing,
yes,
why
are they now?
About
very good, very
before?
good. And let me even tell you, the assembly members are not even concerned. The supposedly assembly members, let me use the right word because I'm a lawyer.
We are going to come to all of those.
Assembly members or the alleged assembly members are not even making this law for the interests of traditional rulers in Rivers State or with the private purpose of strengthening traditional institutions in Rivers State. They are being particular about the current chairman at the expiration of the particular administration. The same assembly member, if re-elected, will also come back and say we want to remove these same powers that was actually removed from the government, executive arm of the government. They will not return it back to the same executive when their own governor.
The chairman of the council is serve a term of 1 year.
Yes.
This is what it says. I just want to read it verbatim so we get the understanding. The chairman shall hold office for 1 year and may be reappointed for a further term of 1 year by the governor.
Yes.
So I'm sure the term of this particular chairman is already ending.
Yes.
So what would then be the case? Are they saying that because if the power still remains on the governor to appoint, and you're saying that the chairman cannot be removed except it's a two-third majority vote from the House, which now is a problem because a lot of people look at the House and say, if we're going to go by what is on ground, every member of the House are of the APC now.
Yes.
And they are also termed to be loyal to the minister. Yes. So now, for many people on social media is, after all we have seen in this state, should this be among the things that the lawmaker should be looking at projecting first?
God bless you.
That is my worry. That's trending. So how do we interpret that then? Now, what message would that be sending?
For me, it's simply feels that this supposed alleged assembly members, 25 assembly members in Rivers State, do not have the interest of Rivers people at heart. I will tell you, remember, prior to the 2023 election, the same persons who are now, apart from a handful of them who just got elected into the House, most of them who are now in that same assembly were people who were seated there as assembly members as 2022 preceding 2023 when the general election was to be conducted. These same assembly members came up with a law prohibiting public usage, individual persons or political parties from making use of public properties. Today, they have now considered the negative effect of that same law, which some of us came to your radio station here, cried against that particular legislation or bill. That particular legislation was against the interest of Rivers people. Today, are you aware that same bill was brought up or raised yesterday by the same assembly members to be prohibited, wasting taxpayers' money on daily basis? So for me, there are no laws these supposedly assembly members are making in the interest of Rivers. There are Rivers youth that have not been employed. Why have this particular assembly member not come up with a particular bill that will compel the executive governor of Rivers State that upon the graduation of a particular student from Rivers State University, from Ignatius Ajuri University, from any of the universities recognized by UC in Rivers State, upon graduation of each of the student who is a member of Rivers State, that the executive governor of Rivers or the current administration should employ them? Are they not aware that youth of Rivers State are not being employed? They were, but those laws are not their major concern as of today. What is imperative to them, what is important to them, what is of major concern to these assembly members is those laws that will promote their common interest.
A commercial coming shortly. By the way, that bill with regards to the advertisement and use of state-owned property prohibition law number 7 2022 was sponsored and presented by member representing Port Harcourt constituency 2, Tonye Smart Adopi Honorable. Well, we'll go for a short commercial. There's still more. Remember the budget.
Stay with us.
When we return,
Nigeria Info. We'll be back.
Crossfire. My name is Ifeemi Andrew. Chioma Choko, a legal practitioner, is with me in the studio. Let's quickly get back into our conversation, but remember that you can join us on Facebook at Nigeria Info 92.3 PH. You can also send us messages on WhatsApp 0809 030 6416. That's the WhatsApp number if you have questions. And we're asking you on Facebook your opinion about the plans to amend the Traditional Rulers Law number 4 to 2015 Rivers State. That's one of the bills that was brought to the floor of the House by Major Jack. And a lot of people have brought up conversations about it, and questions have been asked on social media. It's trending. A lot of people are asking, should this be what we should be facing now in this time? Is this the right bill? It's just a lot. People feel more should be done. But then the lawmakers are the lawmakers, and they're well within their rights to bring bills to the front of the House and make laws and look at this for the interest of Rivers people, which is where the question lies. When you look at the bills so far, does it reflect the interest of the people or not? Let us know your opinion. Simple. Nigeria Info 92.3 PH on Facebook and on X, Nigeria Info PH. WhatsApp 0809 030 6416. I'll get back to my guest now. We'll just respond to a few more questions before we open the phone lines. Okay. Now, if you had looked at this, I just want to read it again. The lawmakers said something. Claims that came after that particular sitting on Tuesday was that this bill would attempt to strip the governor of his powers. We all know that it is within, and I was trying to read that from the existing law. It has not been amended, so it's law at the moment. The governor is the one with the powers to determine whether a traditional ruler is first class, second class, third class. He is the one that determines that. He's the one responsible for appointing the chairman of the council, etc., etc. So this particular bill and this move by the members of the State House of Assembly, as it stands, does it infringe in any way on the powers of governor? Is that something that they are empowered to do?
Well, I will have to be honest. Just like you rightly read out, that the Traditional Rulers Council in Rivers State is a body that is capable of being sued and can equally be sued. That means it's a legal person. And for it to have assumed that statutory position, there were certain laws that were made betting it into that legal status. And that law, as a matter of fact, must have been made by a State House of Assembly. The truth of the matter means that, yes, being a State House of Assembly, they have the right, as a matter of fact, to amend, to make any form of law in the interest of Rivers people that will promote the interest of Rivers people. Obviously, they have the powers, no matter the nature of power of the governor of a state, provided that particular law does not conflict with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. By that I mean, provided it does not conflict with the interests or powers which have been directly vested by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The State of Assembly, where the case arises, has the powers or enjoys the powers to amend any law that is made or was made by that State Assembly. So, given the fact that this particular bill or law was actually made by the Rivers State of Assembly, they also enjoy the powers to so amend. But the question has remained, why must it be now? That has been my own worry. Why did you remember to amend this law?
Anybody who said the time does not matter.
You and I know that my own elder brother here was insulted by the former governor of Rivers State when they called him several names in one of their council meetings, wherein he was referred to as Osman Danfodio and all that. And the assembly members saw all this. And they actually knew that the powers of the governors at the time even that comment was made were too much. So they should have come up at that particular time, seeing the dangers, the imminent dangers, as a matter of fact, to come up to say, oh, we want to amend, we want to reduce the powers of the executive arm of the government over the traditional institutions in real estate. But this law didn't come up at that time because of the fear they have or they had, as a matter of fact, for the former governor. But today, they are coming to the realization because of the political conflict. They did not say
that they have fear for the former governor.
The word fear wouldn't come in. That, of course, they know. It imaginary fear, as a matter of fact.
But still, they said it's never too late. Maybe they've decided to realize that now, and that's why they want to act. Isn't that what perhaps...
that would have been fair. That would have been good if that law... You see, one of the major proponents of the theories of law, Jeremy Bentham, says any law that is not made to promote the common interest of the general populace of the people cannot be regarded or seen as law. This particular law that was actually brought up yesterday by the defunct House of Assembly members, as yes, to the best of knowledge, is not made in the best interest of Rivers. Our problem as of today is not national institutions. There is nowhere we have recorded conflict of interest with regards to the traditional institutions.
When you look at the powers that the law as it is originally now vests on traditional rulers, do you think that it's enough to handle democratic situations and whatever demands that the times might need from traditional institutions?
Well, for me, it is sufficiently enough. That particular law that is in existence define the functions of the traditional rulers, define the procedures for appointment and all that. The only thing it did not incorporate, which they are coming up with their realization now, is that the procedure for removal should, in a way, incorporate the Rivers State House of Assembly members. That is the only thing, the only nuances they have actually introduced. But apart from every other thing, met the requirement of any political or democratic settings.
Another issue was also brought up during that sitting. They said, the lawmakers said, they're still expecting the governor to submit the 2024 budget to them. Now this has been a conversation that has been on ever since that comment was made up until this moment, and I'm pretty sure it's a conversation that will even continue after now amongst Rivers people. There are those that argue that that should not happen. It has never happened in this state before. I might be wrong, correct me. That a budget will be presented twice. There are those that say, well, there was an agreement that was signed. And in that agreement, one of the things that was stated there was this budget to be represented to a whole house. There are those that also say, well, if you look at the eyes of the law and all that has happened in the State Assembly, the defection of these people, or cross-capping, as some would interpret it, of these people to another political party, they're no longer members of the House. So at the time that happened, the people that were recognized were the ones that the governor presented to. Well, as it stands now, the person who was the speaker of that sect at that time is no longer a lawmaker as it stands, even at this immediate time. So different opinions and different views around this. What is the legal perspective to it? Should this be the case, the governor going to re-present the budget before the House?
Well, I just pray you will give me sufficient time to address this issue.
We'll be opening the phone lines shortly. But
before you open the phone lines, let me begin from the beginning. And I would want to constrain myself to events commencing from 11th of December, when the 27 House of Assembly members came up and made that declaration. And you see, the truth of the matter is that these Assembly members that I believe, or I should think that they should have at their fingertips the provisions of the laws of Nigeria, because they are the lawmakers. And it will be, for me, too bad for me to think that the Rivers State Assembly members do not even know provisions of the law, which they are also, as a matter of fact, being part of the persons that makes this as a matter of fact. See, if you look at section 109 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that constitution crystal clear defines the event that would lead to the declaration of a seat of an assembly member vacant.
They said there were issues in their party. Let me put that out there too.
Okay, I'm coming. Now, the National Party has come up to say, as at the time, I have done a matter like this, but let me be honest to you, and then how it ended. The National Party has come up to say, there was no crisis, there is no crisis in our political party. So I do not know where you have doctored, where you have manufactured or concocted that crisis for the benefit of
Is it left for the lawmakers to prove that there was crisis?
Very good. You recall that after the defection of the assembly members, former Speaker of the Rivers State Assembly gone to court on the 12th day, something like that, of December, and the court, through an ex parte order, empowered the former Speaker to sit and carry on the legislative business. I think there were about 10 orders that were granted in that relief. Now the court has, at that day, empowered the former Speaker of the Rivers State Assembly, right on Edison here, to carry on the legislative business of the State Assembly. And now the young man, being too smart, as a lawyer I'm talking, went ahead to declare first the seat of this person vacant in the eyes of the law. He did not stop there. He followed the procedures of the law by writing to INEC, notifying them of the vacancy in the seat of the Rivers State Assembly.
What is the procedure of electing a Speaker of the House?
Very good. By two-third majority. Okay. Upon nomination by any member.
Because some argument is
two-third majority. I am coming. Recall. You see, people must understand this thing. There must not be vacuum in the state. That's what happened during the death of President Yaradua. Jonathan came in and they said, no, the doctrine of covering the food and all. You know how he was put into power and all that when he was actually sick. You see, the truth of the matter is that we must understand that, yes, there is a breach of law first. If we now appreciate that there is a breach somewhere, you have to pursue the legal consequences of that breach, or how to remedy the breach which you have actually resorted to yourself. I feel the first thing that the Rivers State of Assembly members should do now is to proceed to court to say, vacate the order that was made, because as it were, even the former speaker himself cannot, assuming he was even still in the assembly, does not also have the power to reverse himself. I have written to INEC to say, by the provision of section 28 of Electoral Act sub 2, I have the power to cause INEC to issue notices of by-elections to all the political parties in Rivers State to say this seat of the House of Assembly members, having been declared vacant by the former speaker of the House of Assembly, should be reconducted.
I also haven't taken any steps.
Now, that's for political reasons and political benefit, and I do not want to concern myself about that. Now, the effect is that by acting by virtue of that order that granted by Honorable Justice Dagogo, the speaker's action, even though he had resigned from his assemblyship, acts that were carried out by the speaker, by the former speaker of the Rivers of Assembly, are still valid in the eyes of the law. Let me give you instance. In 2017, Omea assumed office. I hope I'm correct. Or 2011, Omea assumed office as the governor of Rivers State. PDP and INEC went to court, and at the end of the judgment, they called no. Omea, in the eyes of the law, was not even the governor of Rivers State. Were the acts that were performed by the governor, as it were, which is Omea, were they reversed? The answer is no. The then governor, being Right Honorable Rotimi Amechi, came in and then adopted those acts that were, whether wrongly or right in the eyes of the law, performed by former governor. So what it means is that the acts that were performed by the former speaker are in the eyes of the law still valid. And remember, those acts were performed by the mandate and order of a court. Now, if we look at the court, was it proper? Does it have the powers?
How do you extend it to third part of it? This because
now, very good.
People.
That to third, because immaterial, because they acted on an order of a court of competent jurisdiction by virtue of section 6 of the sub 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So it would have been a different case, which I still want to review to them. If Edison had acted without that order of court, so what is holding these 25 assembly members from carrying on legislative businesses, even though they are doing it in ignorance, is that the Edison's administration or leadership happened or came up with an order of the court, and they start to want to say that Nigeria, being a democratic system of government, does not respect orders of court. And let me tell you, you have mentioned something that they went to Abuja, and the president, who is the number one citizen of Federal
I'm coming to that. That document.
Let me
what does that document carry?
Very good. Section 1 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria says this constitution is supreme and can be binding on all persons and authority. The question you will ask yourself, is Mr. President a person? The answer is yes. Is the government of Rivers State authority? Yes. Is the government of Federal Republic of Nigeria authority? The answer is did the Constitution mention these persons within the pure view of the provisions of the law? The answer is yes. So what means is that those steps that were taken by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria have been that the acts which are now being contested by either the former speaker or the current speaker were acts that contravene the provisions of the law, are still in the eyes of the law not valid. That, again, to the best of my knowledge, makes no meaning. It is invalid. It is void. I've been sure it makes no meaning.
So from all you're saying, yes, if the governor decides to say, well, we're not going forward with the implementation, assuming,
yes,
you're saying now, are you saying that document cannot stand as evidence or does not hold any power to say you signed this?
You're a Nigerian. Have you seen where a person has committed murder and then you did not go to court? You go to say, oh, I have gone to the agreement. My brother, I have been in legal practice. I have not done any other business, inclusive of selling papers. What I have used to feed my family is legal practice. And I will tell you sincerity, even though parties come to agreement, there must be an affidavit shown from the court that parties have resolved in this light. And I want to tell you, what they signed is a mere paper, a worthless paper, which will not hold water, and that paper can be challenged. So for me, the president's actions and steps cannot overturn, remove, abrogate the provisions of the law. The law is still supreme on all. So what it means is that the actions of this current or supposedly House of Assembly members questions the integrity
Let's open the Constitution
of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Let's open the phone lines now and get the thoughts of our listeners. You've been following the conversation, and you've also seen the post on Facebook and request that you contribute and respond to it. You heard that the bills that the lawmakers looked at 2 days ago What's your opinion about it, especially that concerns Traditional Council, Traditional Rulers Law number 4 of 2015? Let's get your thoughts. Braid, from my one, start with you, please, straight to the point. Thank you very much.
Good morning, FME, and the guests in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning, Braid. Go ahead.
Yes, my area is Bound River State Road Management Authority. There was no any warning to the governor, or there is no any impeachment motion, and that is an impeachable offense because that agency were enacted to law. Now the signages law was done by this same assembly and gave the power to the governor, yes or we, and no other individual or group can test anything anywhere or have any public space to do their rally or campaign without the jump pay 5 million. And they were in assembly when this royal family was radical, calling us mad and fodious. Where were this assembly? And today, in the eyes of the law, enemy and the 25 others, they are no more assembly members. They defected to another party. And even their principal, who is yes or wicked, said it. If you are defecting, you have to drop the umbrella. And why would they drop the umbrella today? Are they bigger than the country? Are they bigger than the constitution? Or Mr. President, what memorandum? Is it bigger than the constitution? If it is bigger than the constitution, then him to represent that budget. But if they are not bigger than the constitution, Mr. Sim, the executive governor of River State, cannot represent that budget.
Thank you very much,
Braid. It will be a very serious crisis. It will be a political.
All right, Braid. Thank you. Let's get on to JJ now. Good morning, JJ.
Good morning, Andrew, and good morning to your good guests in the studio.
Good morning, my dear friend.
You, the honorable guest in the house.
Thank you very much.
If you would need a two-thirds of the assembly based on their, I don't know whether it's what they are making, because what I know is that the law must be positive on the people. If you would need two-thirds of the assembly member to remove the traditional ruler, I mean, why can't you remove the emir of Kano didn't fall and all this? How will the traditional ruler come in? Will it be through a voice vote in the assembly? What will be the contribution of the assembly as at when they are coming in that will not need to talk before they are removed? That is one question. The second question is, where were these lawmakers when these traditional rulers were being bullied? Some called names, some just, I don't know, you saw that whole thing now. Nobody, including the lawmaker representing Omuma, didn't say a word as at that time when his traditional ruler, class one, was being ridiculed, called those Matafodio. I don't understand at all. So suddenly and conclusively, all this while, since this 10th assembly, how many laws are these people made that have direct bearing on the life of the people? One, financial autonomy for we. Second, traditional ruler to protect our say, and so many other stuff like that. It's so funny. Is it that these guys don't even know the work they are supposed to be doing? And I think that they have lost their seat and they lost their sense of responsibility, and they are just dancing.
All right, JJ, quickly, they did not say that they were doing anything to protect anybody. You mentioned one of traditional rulers, Sergeant, I would say. The lawmakers had said it was the intent of what they were trying to do. Perhaps that's your own assumption, but it's not the position of the lawmakers as from what was said by them. Ken, in Ubimini, good morning.
Good morning, if you hear me.
Welcome.
And greetings to your guest in the studio.
Thank you, my dear brother.
If you hear me, I still don't understand why we are still addressing the so-called 25 lawmakers as lawmakers. I see them as former lawmakers. And by this issue on ground, I think these so-called lawmakers are still working and being controlled under frustration Otherwise, they should have been leaving the house, being on fire, and chasing a rat. We are talking about how the state is stagnant, politically stagnant. Nothing is working anymore in the state because the crisis rocking the government house and the political space. They are now telling us on how to return or give authority to a traditional leader and whatever. The youth are unemployed. No business is working. We are seeking for foreign investors. We are trying to make sure that there will be security because of the high level of insecurity in our state. They are going here and there, telling us to adhere to them. It's very, very unfortunate, Mr. Ifeami. Thank you very much.
Mufasa, good morning.
Yeah, hi, Andrew. Good morning.
Welcome,
good morning
Mufasa.
to the gentleman in the studio.
Good morning,
I,
sir.
I quite enjoy his, his analytical approach.
Thank you,
For
sir.
me, these are the kind of people that we want to listen to, over and over again because they stand for the truth and justice. But I would say that, you see, I also don't feel right and comfortable referring to this group of former lawmakers, assembly members. But for the sake of this discussion, let me please say that the kind of people that call themselves representatives of the people as people would consider that they are still occupying the position that they think they're occupying. Now, what is their priority? The gentleman is we have a lot of pressing issues already, so that if these persons were actually representatives of the people, you should see where their priority lies. I call them self-serving politicians. Now, what they don't know is you cannot build something on nothing and expect it to stand. Even their boss, the FCC minister, when he was making his statement in the bank, said that if they had told him, of course, we know that he was just trying to play with the truth. If they had told him that they wanted to make that move, he would have advised them against it, because he now understands the consequence of their actions. That is why he's feeling ignorant. So for me, I want to say that whatever actions they think they are taking, for me, it is a complete nullity. I only want to advise the governor not to be distracted by this antics they are trying to play around, because they are not laying more emphasis on the agreement, not on the provisions of our laws. Most of the hear themselves will tell you, there's an agreement, 8-point agenda, and we have a grown law, which is the Constitution. We have the laws of this law, which are to be respected. So for me, whatever they are doing, Madam Ewe and his co-travelers, is just a futile, engagement.
Thank you very much. Very quickly, Choko.
Yes.
Well, some people now, if you listen to the callers, then you would know there's the confusion as to whether to recognize or address the lawmakers as lawmakers, members of the State Assembly. But as it stands, aren't they still lawmakers? Because INEC has not done, there's nothing INEC has done. Even if some people make the argument that, a particular, it's not as though there's been a body authority that has stamped and said this. So from that perspective, shouldn't people continue addressing?
Let me respond to you. What role has INEC? The responsibility of INEC is the conduct of elections and the determination of...
But that election has not been conducted.
Very good.
So
now, very good. Look at why people are referring to them as different members of the assembly. Before the resignation of the former speaker of the Rivers State of Assembly, there was an order made by the assembly. And what was that order? Declaring vacant. Which that declaration is not the responsibility of INEC. I have read
electoral act. Are you saying that the activities of the assembly should continue with only 4 lawmakers?
Because they are the only people that are recognized by law. So until INEC comes down to conduct fresh election,
governance and representation of the other constituencies of Rivers State,
of course, their seats have been declared vacant, and we cannot force INEC. I do not have the responsibility to carry INEC down to Rivers State. What I have is to write to INEC to say, I am still interested in running this election.
Well, but INEC so far hasn't conducted that election.
And the seat of this person...
You have said governance must continue. We can't leave the space.
It is the duty of the executive. All of us know. We have been enjoying it. We have been suffering it in Rivers State. Mr. Choko, is it not difficult for us to...
A short commercial. We'll come back and take some messages.
More talk.
Okay, let's get back into it. Nigeria info, a couple of minutes before the news at 9. My name is Ifeemi Andrew. Plenty of messages coming in already on social media. Let's take some of them. Mayowa Folorunshore says, I'm dying, oh, please. That doesn't concern us. Gotta White says, okay, the plan amendment, well, I think it's political. For me, I think that some individuals are behind it. The minister might want to protect some of his loyalists who are traditional rulers. Dondim Endurance says the 25 former lawmakers, in my opinion, they are former and they have lost their seats and should stop leading their followers astray. Well, you called it your opinion. It's your opinion as it stands. They are the State House of Assembly conducting affairs. So if they are not legit members of the House, those who are supposed to be looking at them and saying you are not supposed to be here should be speaking. On the amendment of the law, the assembly members' spirit and letters of the same law was abused under the past administration for 8 years. Where was their oversight function of a State House of Assembly? Please, are these people still lawmakers? If no, why attach legislative duties to them? Justice. Roland says the traditional institution is not a democratic institution. Point of correction, Mr. Lawmaker. Okay, we have to wrap up. So, Mr. Choko,
yes.
As we attempt to wrap up, where does this leave us at the moment? The judiciary also has a role to play in this. Where does this leave us? In few seconds.
Yes, of course, the judiciary will only come in when they have been invited. And how do you invite the judiciary? By instituting an action. And I expect the defunct House of Assembly members to advance the court.
You still refer to them as defunct?
I'm a lawyer. I cannot justify wrong. That's the truth. Even if you want to kill me, I'm a lawyer. I have to tell you the truth. They have to go to court. If they go to court, let's get it right. If they go to court and the court says that the actions of Right Reverend Sinehi, as at the time you acted in certain manners, were, they will become assembly members and I cannot change it. I don't have the power. But for now, because of the pronouncement of the former speaker, those seats are vacant in my sight.
All right, Mr. Choko, thank you for your time and for joining us on the show. My name is Ifeemi Andrew. The World News at 9 is next. Afterwards, Hello Port Harcourt with Jude. Stay tuned.
It's 9 o'clock.